Hi friends, I'm Abby and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my October wrap up. So talking through all the books that I managed to read in the month of October and a few of the bits and pieces that I got up to. So October, it was a really good reading month. I had a great reading month. I was looking back and it was like, this was actually a really good reading month. So it was positive in terms of both the quantity and the quality. Like I felt like I had a really good balance, and I also met some of my goals that I had for myself in terms of my series, so it felt like quite an accomplishment of a reading month. So I read 8 books, which I think is pretty solid, coming to 3,511 pages. A good amount of books and pages read there. I had a bit of a mixture, but not massive mixture. I had 1 romance, 1 historical mystery, 1 sci-fi and 5 fantasy. So still majority fantasy, and that sci-fi is very much a, is it a sci-fi? Is it a fantasy? I don't know where to class this. I'll put it in sci-fi just to give a bit more of a spread of genres. All 8 of the books were adult. And then in terms of star rating, pretty much everything was like a 4-star. I just really liked everything that I read. Like nothing disappointed me. Everything was really solid. Maybe that was like, I read quite a few sequels, so I guess I was continuing in works that I was already enjoying, but everything was really solid. So 2 of them I sort of given 4.5 stars, 2 of them were like 4.25, and then 4 stars. Like I was looking at them and saying everything was good, but some of them were slightly better, but I don't think they were quite at that 5-star mark, but they were really close. I continued in 2 series, and I also finished 2 series, but I did start 1 series. So I think that was my goal at 27, but I made a lot of progress. So that's like 4 series that I worked on that I had on the go to begin with, that I've made some good progress. Lots of progress was made. So positive reading month. It was also a good like personal life month. I felt as though I had a good mixture of things going on. So I had quite a few work events, which was really good because our office has been closed. So I've been working from home the whole time. So it's actually been great that I've had some work events through October, just in London and surroundings, but it's got me out of the house a little bit. So I've been over to the other side of London for some different trade shows. I've been to some dinner events in London. I went out just this week around Halloween to the countryside, which was lovely. So a few little bits and pieces going on there. I had my partner's birthday, so I treated him to a lovely day out in London and some nice food. A very food heavy day. Food. And I also went to the John Gwynne event, which was just great. I mean, love his books. It was a great talk. I mean, it wasn't just a John Gwynne event. There was also Tasha Suri there and James Logan. So there were a couple of other authors there, but the highlight for me was seeing John Gwynne. And I also got a London Marathon spot. So I'm going to be running quite a lot going forward. So I'm going to be a runner. I will be a runner because I have to be a runner because I'm running the London Marathon at the end of April. So I got that spot confirmed. So it's going to be exercise heavy going forwards. And now getting into actually what I read and the split of things, I think we'll just go for no real particular order. Just dive on in. I started off the month by reading The Cage of Dark Hours by Marina Lostetta, the second book in the 5 Penalties series. I've been really enjoying the series. I think it's so underhyped and represented on booktube because I've really liked this. So this matched my enjoyment, I'd say, of the first book. And this series is set in this magical world where people can sort of put their psyche into these masks when they die, and then other people can wear these masks and sort of gain the knowledge from that person. So if you're a doctor, someone can put on that mask and they will have your medical knowledge. And then there are some masks which are more protected because they contain knowledge that shouldn't be out there in the wider world, such as a mask of a serial killer. And at the beginning of the first book, this serial killer's mask gets stolen and the murders start happening again in the same style. And we're following our main character who was there at the scene of the crime as she is trying to investigate what is going on and try to recapture the mask and get it back into custody as she's part of the police force. And then we have some other perspectives in different timelines. It's got a really interesting world and magic system and the law, which I really enjoyed, and this one matched that. It has a separate sort of mystery that you're following, so I'd say if you don't like the mystery elements with fantasy, then you might not like the series, but I personally have enjoyed these mysteries that you're following and sort of the continuation of the plot and understanding more and more about the world, which is why I hoped for this one, and it definitely delivered in expanding the world for me. You've got some different perspectives in here. It reminded me a little bit of Mask of Mirrors in a way, and that series, in terms of that you have these balls and this setting, you've also got this sort of police force type characters. So I'd say if you liked Mask of Mirrors, you might like this, although there is a bit more of like a crime mystery type going throughout this. But I would really recommend this, and the third book comes out early next year, so very excited to see how it all concludes, but definitely a great second book. I read An Impossible Imposter by Deanna Rayborn, the 7th book in the Veronica Speedwell series. These are just solid, fun series. The series as a whole, we're following Veronica, who is a lepidoporist, and her, I guess, paramour, partner in crime, Stoker, as they investigate different situations, murders, mysteries, disappearances, and it's sort of seeing their relationship develop. And each one is sort of a standalone mystery, but there is like an overarching plot that we're following and the relationships between these characters. This one I don't think was my favourite, but I mean all of them I've enjoyed, but I just don't think this plot in and of itself was my favourite. But they're just so fun and easy to fly through, and a great like palette cleanser between different fantasy works. Okay, so then this is the sort of sci-fi, but is it fantasy? And that is Elder Race by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I picked this up in the bookshop, I bought it, I read it. Pretty much was how this one worked. This one has a really interesting premise in that it's told in two perspectives, and you're set on this planet, and one perspective is this person who believes that there is a magician that lives on the top of this hill, and she is going to call upon the magician to help out with this plague or this demon that is terrorizing the world. And she's like, we're going to need to ask the magician for help. The magician, though, is actually a scientist who is there monitoring the population and has that sci-fi lens, because what he does is not magical, it is just scientific. So she thinks that everything he's doing is completely magical because he is a magician, he is a wizard. And he's like, no, it's just technology. So it's that sort of juxtaposition of reading something from one perspective and it's fantastical, and from another perspective and it's sci-fi. So that's why I was like, it really combines them both. And I think that was so well done, and having these different perspectives and how they interpret events. The dishwasher just turned on. Not sure what that was doing. It says it has a minute left in its cycle, but it was put on hours ago and it's been like quiet for hours. So I don't know what that's decided it was doing with that. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. I liked that juxtaposition. I liked how this talked about mental health and how that was looked at across these two different societies. So you have like one chapter by one person, one chapter by another, but then there was this chapter here where it's like narrated by them both. And so it's how they are both interpreting the same events. And I just think it was such an interesting take on that fantasy sci-fi line. So would definitely recommend it. And it's only a novella, and I found it was like the perfect length for this story. A series that I finished, because I did finish two, is The Ending Fire by Zara El Arifi, by reading The Ending Fire. So the first book in this is The Final Strife. I've spoken about this quite a few times, so I don't really want to get too much into this series, because I do have a should you read this series, which I posted a couple of weeks ago now. So I will link that video, which I give like a full detailed like plot synopsis, my thoughts on the characters, the world, and everything to do with it. In terms of this final book, I think it was a really solid conclusion to the series, that I'm really happy with the way that this concluded, the way it wrapped up, and the way that where we got to with all of our character arcs. It's not my favourite in the series. I gave this one 4 stars, whereas I think the rest of the series was more like a 4.5. And the first book I think is my favourite, and I think that first book the first books I think are typically my favourite books in series, just because I really enjoy getting introduced into characters and worlds and exploring that. Like that's just who I am as a reader, that it's rare for me to like final books, I guess, as much as first books. I don't know. I haven't looked at the stats for that. Maybe I should look at the stats, but I haven't. Anyway, I found that because all the setup's been done, a lot of this was quite plot heavy, that we weren't spending time like exploring the world or the characters or different interactions. It was that had been developed in the first 2 books, and now we were into this plot and this like, okay, we need to get all of our ducks in a row, we need to get this person here, we need this to happen, we need this to happen, and then we can have the big battle at the end. So it was a lot more plot centric, which isn't necessarily my style, but I mean, it was necessary, and I think it got us to a point where I was happy with the conclusion of the series and seeing how it all wrapped up and seeing all the different twists and turns that our characters have gone through, and seeing how it all concluded, I think was really well done. But I will link that series review, and that will also be down below if you want to hear my full thoughts on the whole series, because I would definitely recommend this, and I think more people should be reading it. One that I don't own, I listened to the audiobook of Powerless by Elsie Silver. This is the third book in the Chestnut Spring series. I'm sort of counting them as standalone because they are like, they're not this series in the same sense as like the fantasy series. And like with the rest of the series, I've enjoyed it. It was a fun time, a great listen, very easy to just dive into and just sort of enjoy it. I'd say, having read now the first three, all of these books are set in rural Canada or sort of near to Calgary. It's centered around this farm and this family that live on this farm and the different romantic relationships that go on throughout the series. In this one, we're following Sloane, who is a ballerina, and she is the cousin of the boys that live on this farm, and her relationship with one of their friends. And it's sort of how two worlds collide, that she's been brought up in a family that's very like quite well to do, and the friend that she has had like a crush on since they were children, and it's felt like as though they've had this friendship. It's really much a friends to lovers story, and them realizing that there's more to their friendship, that they've both had feelings for each other but they haven't wanted to admit it because they haven't wanted to ruin their friendship. Seeing that all come together, I enjoyed it. I think looking at the series so far as a whole, the first book was my least favourite, and then I think the second one had some higher highs, but this third one was more like consistent in terms of my enjoyment. And I definitely plan to continue on reading the fourth and fifth book and seeing what's going to happen, not next, but see which relationships are going to come up. And they've been great audiobooks just to have on as like easy lessons. And then I worked on another series, and I continued in it and I finished it, and that is with the Bloodsworn saga by John Gwynne. So I read The Hunger of the Gods and The Fury of the Gods, wrapping up this whole series. So I did intend to read a different finale, and then I was like, I was going to the John Gwynne event. I was like, no, I'm going to start this one. So I reread The Hunger of the Gods on audiobook, like in the middle-ish of the month, and I personally don't think the audiobooks are for me. And it's weird because I don't know how to describe it, because I really love the book, and I enjoy the characters and the direction that we've gone in with this series, but I think I do struggle with the audiobook narration. I think he's a great narrator, which is the hard thing. Like I like the guy's voice. I like your voice, I think you're narrating this well, but I zone out. And so then I'm like, oh wait, what happened there? And this is on a reread, and I'm still going, have I missed something? And I feel as though I'm missing things, but it's just me not focusing properly on it. And I don't know what's going on, because I don't think his voice is good. It's me. I think it's a me problem. But I noticed it in the first book, and I've noticed it in this one, that I just seem to be missing things in those audiobooks. I don't know if other people have had that. I don't know if they've had it with this, with other audiobooks, but I just don't think they're the best way to experience this series. That I have had much better experiences reading it physically. So I did do this reread, and then I read the third book. I am planning to do a series review of this. I'm actually going to be filming it after this wrap up, so there will be a series review coming out, but it probably will be like maybe a couple of weeks after this video, so that will be coming. And then I did read the third and final book in the series, and I finished this just before the end of the month, and I actually flew through this book. I flew through it, raced my way through it. I actually haven't spoken about the plot. The plot is and then I'll get into my thoughts on this final book. The plot of this series is that we have a multi-perspective cast of characters, three main ones being Orca, Varg and Elva. Orca is a mother, and at the end of the book she gets thrust on this thrust on this journey to find her son, who has been taken captive. Then we have Varg, who is an ex-slave, as he enters into this warband, and we follow Elva, who is part of a different warband, and sort of the journey that they're going on to claim their fame and riches. And we know that in this world the dead gods are potentially going to be rising. This third one I enjoyed. Like with the Ending Fire, it is quite plot heavy, that We're no longer doing the setup of the world. We are on this plot and this journey and this battle. A lot of this is quite battle centric, that there is a lot of battle in this final book. A lot of this book is battle. A lot of it is this conflict that we have been building towards throughout the books and seeing the different perspectives from either side. And I think John Gwynne does battle scenes really, really well. I think they were a little bit long. It was a little bit long in here, but I do think he does them well in terms of having the different perspectives and sort of seeing the battle from different lenses and seeing how different people are interacting within this battle scene, and then having these quite short chapters as you flit between these perspectives and what's going on, the different twists and turns, seeing the sort of god interaction going on with our cast of characters. I also like how we follow both perspectives from the people that we like and our heroes, but also the villains, and so we get into both their heads. And I do think I'm very happy with the way this concluded and where we got to. There were some bittersweet moments, but I think I would have liked a little bit longer at the end just to sit with things. Would definitely recommend the series, and I will have a full review. Then the one series that I started is The House at Watch Hill by Karen Marie Mooney. I just felt like reading it. It felt like the perfect October autumnal book. It's a new release for October. I just wanted to read it. I bought it, I wanted to read it, I just wanted it, okay? There was no logic to this. This did not match my I'm gonna complete things. No, this was just, I want to read news. I want something new, and that's fine, because I just went with the flow. I have read from Karen Marie Mooney before. I have read her Fever series, or the first 5 books, which is a completed arc, and I've heard that's the best of the series, that it goes downhill from there. So I did know roughly what I was getting myself into. I really liked this. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. In this, we're following our main character, Zoe, and it's set in the real world. At the beginning of the book, her mother dies, and they've been very much living a tough life. That Zoe's mother is ill, they can hardly afford healthcare. Zoe is working constantly to try and keep them afloat and trying to maintain sort of some stability in their lives. And following her mother's death, she finds out that she has inherited some money and fortune, and she goes onto this journey to the house at Watch Hill to learn about her inheritance. And there are some rules and regulations on the way that she is going to be able to have this inheritance. And so we're at this little bit creepy house, and everything is a little bit witchy. And so she's diving deeper into the mansion and its different secrets and sort of uncovering secrets within herself. It felt a bit like a prequel to a wider series, that I feel as though we were introduced to quite a few things. We got introduced to this house, we got introduced to Zoe and some of the magic and the witchy things that were going on, but it felt like the tip of an iceberg. And the rest of the series, which I think is a trilogy, which I feel as though there's quite a lot that needs to be done in this trilogy, we're going to get a lot more scope of what is actually going on, because it feels as though there's so many different players at play within this world. So I found this really enjoyable. I really like the writing style. It's slow. It's slow. There's not loads going on, but I was hooked. Sometimes people are like, that was a really slow book. It was a slow book, but I was hooked, and it's hard to explain it. I had the same thing with Juliette Marillier, where I know her books are slow, and I know they're slow, but I can't put them down. And I'm like, this isn't a fast-paced book. Why am I so addicted to this? And I had the same thing here, where I'm like, I don't know why I found this so compelling, because I understand it's slow, but I was hooked. So I really thoroughly enjoyed this, would definitely recommend it. And I'm very excited to see where this is going to go and the different twists and turns and everything that could get revealed in the rest of the series. So that is everything that I completed during the month of October. I have nothing that I'm bringing over into November because I literally finished The Fury of the Gods before going away, and then it was like, okay, October is over. And I feel like I've got a bit of a slow start to November because I've not started anything yet. I don't know, just haven't found the right book. I think I was going to start The Atlas Complex, but I don't think I'm quite in the mood for it. So TBC what I'm actually going to start with in November. Anyway, that's everything that I read. Let me know if you have read any of these and your thoughts on any of them, if you have enjoyed them or if you are now compelled to pick them up. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my future videos. Bye!